What's going on, you guys? Theo here with the big review, back yet again with another King of Fighters Allstar video, and today we are going to be taking a look at the 7 Deadly Sins collaboration events and giving you guys some tips and some hints on some things that you should make sure that you are taking full advantage of before this collaboration ends in the next 4 days as we get down to the wire on this collab. And we're also going to be taking a look at a small detail that was added in with the latest update that I feel a lot of people overlooked and have not spoken about, but you really should pay attention to. And then there is going to be a new King of Fighters 15 trailer that, not gonna lie guys, pretty exciting stuff. So if you're into the KOF franchise as a whole, you'll want to stick around for that trailer. But before we get into all that, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. So let's go ahead and talk about these events and check out what we have in store for us over the course of the next few days as far as the grind is concerned. So for those of you who still have it available, and as you can tell from this chart here, I do not, but the super mission that is going on with the 7 Deadly Sins collaboration for the free-to-play Elizabeth, make sure obviously that you get that finished up before the 19th. So you'll want to make sure that you get all of this stuff taken care of before the 19th update comes around, because they are going to be peeling back the update, and of course this stuff is going to be ending, so you'll want to make sure that you get that done so that you can take full advantage of that super mission. But there's some other things in here that are very important that a lot of you guys probably already know that we've talked about at the beginning of this collaboration, but are things that I want to make sure that people who might have missed that video, make sure that they take full advantage of. So the biggest thing that I feel like you guys need to make sure that you are remembering to do is going to have to do with your rush event, and you're going to want to make sure that you are getting as much out of this as humanly possible. So basically every single day you should already be doing this at least once for each one of these dungeons to get these daily special rewards. But one of the big things that I've talked about in the past on the channel that has helped a lot of people out, I've noticed, is you'll want to make sure that you go in and you use as many of the soul boxes as humanly possible to get these tokens, to get this purple dust. So basically I've already salvaged the ones that I got from my overnight last night, so we're going to go in here and I'm going to show you guys. So you would go in, after exchanging out your soul boxes, you would exchange out these souls for this purple dust, and then you will want to make sure that you get as much purple dust as humanly possible from this event. Now, I personally have had to get a little bit more lax on this the last couple of days because I was just burning so much AP doing this. But the reason why you want these tokens is these tokens are going to be what you'll want to use on the unified banner. And I get this question a lot because I feel like there's a lot of new players in the game right now, so I'm going to show you guys, for those of you who may not know what we're referencing when we talk about the unified banner. But this is the unified banner here, guys. So as you'll see down here, I have a ton of tokens, right? Ton of tokens. And if you go into my inventory, I'll show you. If you take a look here, if we go down, I have almost an entire pity's worth of tokens right now. So that is why you'll want to make sure that you are taking full advantage of the rush event. I know that I have mentioned this since this collaboration started, but anytime you have a rush event with a collaboration, you want to make sure that you are getting as many of these boxes for these souls as humanly possible if they're available, because you'll get them as clear rewards, and what you do is you basically just take them in and you salvage them out. So if you want to, if you're on a budget, if you're a new player that doesn't have a lot of generic souls, and by generic souls, what I mean is if I go to my inventory, these are what we mean when we talk about generic souls, right? So obviously you're probably not going to have anywhere near as many of them laying around as I do if you're a new player, but at the same time, try to at least budget it to where you can get some of this purple dust, because that is very important. Now, another thing that is a big get with these collaborations that you guys want to make sure that you're taking full advantage of is going to be your stones. So if you go to, and I'll show you guys, there's a couple places that you want to take a look at here. Now, I've already gotten all mine, but basically you can buy up to 18 of these from this shop. So these are going to be very, very important if you went in on these characters. You want to make sure that you have these, and you also want to make sure that you get as much out of this dungeon in general as possible for this exchange shop, because a lot of these items, if you're a new player, are going to be very important. This is a very good way for you to stock up. So with this ending in the next few days, you want to make sure that you take as much advantage of this as humanly possible. So that is going to be something that I feel like a lot of people that are new to the game may get lax on or may kind of miss out on, and that's something you want to make sure that you're doing. Make sure you get as many of the stone boxes as possible. I'll talk here in a moment about which ones I'd prioritize, but there's one other place that you can get these, and you're actually going to see here in your craft menu that you can get these from here as well. I've already almost got all these, and in fact I'm going to pick up another one as we speak, but you'll want to get as many of these as possible and try to make sure, I think you get 25 total, so you will end up with one extra that's going to be kind of an odd man out, so you can just kind of make sure that you get the 24 and you'll be fine, because you're really not going to use the extra one for much of anything. As far as what I would prioritize with these, as you can tell from the ones that I've gotten, I would try to make sure that I get as many attack ones as possible. I do plan on getting about 2 sets of the defensive stones, and I would probably recommend that you guys just pass on any of the HP or the attack HP or whatever the mixed ones are. You're typically not going to be using those, so that would be something I would probably tell you just to pass on. So I would try to get as many sets of the attack ones as you can, and have 2 to 3 of the defensive ones just in case. As far as the extra one, because again, you're going to end up, if you do all of these, with 25 total stones, you'll want to try and probably prioritize just getting another one of the attack stones, or maybe even another defense stone, whatever you have the least amount of that you might see yourself using on a character down the road. Honestly, I would probably try to make it one that's probably not this one, this third one, for either of those stats, whichever one you choose, because this effect down here, it's okay, but typically you're never going to see it come up because it's only on Awaken rotation. So it's okay, but it's not something I would highly recommend over some of these other effects, like decreasing and increasing your damage and your damage received is going to be, in my opinion, better overall, because you're getting something out of it the whole fight. So that is pretty much those two things there. You want to make sure that you get as many of these resources as possible, because once they peel back this update and this stuff ends, a lot of this stuff is going to be going away, and you're not going to have the chance to exchange and that sort of thing. So you'll want to make sure that you do this stuff, because as you can see here, all these are going to end in 4 days. If you take a look at your craft menu and you take a look at your boxes, these end in 4 days. And then if you go down to your exchange shop, this also ends in 4 days. So that is going to be the stuff that you want to make sure that you are getting, and obviously you want to grind all of these events every single day as well, so that you make sure that you maximize on the drops and things of that nature, but just make sure that you guys get that stuff. So the next topic that I want to talk about is actually going to pertain to the 7 deadly sins as well, but actually has broader implications. And it actually is going to be a situation where I'm going to show you the fancy Elizabeth, the dress Elizabeth, and we're going to talk about her core, because something happened with this update that a lot of people, I feel like, may have missed out on and didn't realize at the time, and it actually makes a huge difference for not only her, but Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal. So what am I talking about? Well, what I'm talking about is going to be this core right here, the Festival Dancers. So you can ignore the becomes immune to darkness part, because what we need to focus on is deal starlight damage equal to 65% of attack to the target upon landing a skill. So pay attention to the wording on this core, okay? So deal starlight damage equal to 65% of attack to the target upon landing a skill. All right, so pay attention to that wording. That is something that we're going to go back to when we get to Omega Rugal here. But basically what she does is she does not apply the dot of starlight, but instead she just deals starlight damage, right? So anytime she lands a skill, she's going to apply starlight damage, which is actually extremely powerful with her. I've been working on, and I was trying to get a video reviewing and spotlighting her today. Unfortunately, being that I don't have the ability to awaken her right now, I am probably going to shelve the idea, and actually something that I'm going to talk about here briefly at the end of this talk about this collaboration is I'm going to tell you guys there's a couple characters that, just because I can't really use them in a lot of content because I'm at the end game and I can't necessarily awaken all these characters, some of them I'm not going to be able to spotlight, but that core changed with this update because there's another character that is very popular, that is very powerful, one of the best characters in the entire game that has a very similar core, and that is going to be Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal. So if you take a look at Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal, and again, keep in mind the wording on the previous core we just spoke of, you're going to have the King of Fighters 95 core on Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal that, again, you can ignore the immune part, deals bleed damage equal to 80% of attack to the target upon landing a skill. So, what changed, right? What does this all mean? Basically, what changed with this update that nobody talked about is the fact that before, when Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal would use that core, it was only when he landed a skill. It wasn't on multi-hits, it wasn't every hit, it was just when landing the skill. However, with the update, they ended up changing it to where every single hit will apply that, right? And there's no cooldown. There's no cooldown whatsoever on this. So every time that he hits a character, say he is using a multi-hit skill, say he's using, any one of his skills that has multi-hits, he's going to deal that additional damage equal to 80% of his attack as bleed. And the same goes for that Elizabeth. So what probably happened is whenever they put in the 7 Deadly Sins characters, they decided to change the way that this operates, and they did it in order to help out this Elizabeth, which this Elizabeth is extremely good on damage. I've talked about this in the past. She's actually a really, really strong character. Her mobbing is absolutely meme tier, but we're not talking about her today. We're talking about this core. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because when they peel back this update, there is a chance, and it's just a chance, we don't know what they plan on peeling back, but they do intend on peeling back the majority of this update. When they peel this back, you have to wonder, are they going to change this back to the way it operated before? Because if they do, we don't have to worry about Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal. Boss Syndrome Omega Rugal is awesome. He's going to be fine. He's just going to go back to what he was before, which is already just broken. But with her, this is going to make or break her. If they change this back, this is going to completely change the way she operates. My recommendation to you guys, as good as she can be as a general mobber, as good as she can be for damage for a new player, I recommend not building her right now and waiting to see what happens. Because her damage as you play with her, if you're a new player, can be very deceiving if you don't realize that this might change, because you'll see how much damage she's putting up, and she's a very easy, fun character to play as, and you might go, okay, well, I'm just going to build her up, and I'm going to make invites, and so on and so forth. Don't do that right now. I would recommend waiting and seeing if this changes with this peel back, because if it does, it is going to directly affect how much damage she's able to output, and at that point, this character is no longer as strong as she appears to be. And there is no guarantee that they'll change it, like I said, but being that nobody talks about the fact that this changed, then it needed to be brought up here, because being able to deal that amount of damage every single solitary hit versus every time you connect a skill, and it could be something that they didn't even intend on. It could just be broken like half the other stuff in the game right now. But being that she has that ability, it is very, very potent. So keep that in mind. Wait and see with her. I would wait until the 20th to see what changed, if anything, and then make your decision. If you're a fan of this character, if you wanted to build up this character, just hold off for a little bit, okay? So that's something I wanted to talk about because I hadn't seen anybody talk about this, and I felt like it was very important to bring up because it doesn't necessarily just affect these two characters, but potentially characters going forward that are going to share that core, because that type of a core effect has proven to be extremely powerful. If you see this type of core on a character going forward, do realize that their damage is going to be that much greater than a character who doesn't have this, because this thing here can make a character just ridiculous on damage output. And if it continues to be on every hit, yeah, very, very strong. Anyway, guys, that is going to be the information I wanted to go over in this video today. I'm currently working on the King Spotlight as we speak, so stay tuned for that. But the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be that KOF 15 trailer. So for those of you who are only here for King of Fighters Allstar, I appreciate all of you as always. Consider smashing that like button and subscribing if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you guys in the next one. But let's go ahead and take a look at that KOF 15 trailer and see what character we are going to be getting this week, because it's a fun one that a lot of people have been waiting for.
Sure.
That's right, you guys. She's back, and she hasn't missed a single squat in the time she's been gone. Shermie has returned to the King of Fighters franchise after a long hiatus, and she is looking very, very good. So let's go ahead and talk about this trailer. So as you can see here, Irina Seto is back for the voice acting. For those of you who may not know who that is, she was the voice actress for Shermie in SNK Heroines, and basically it looks like she has gotten some definite changes to the wardrobe, but it's looking like she may be dressing a little bit more risque than we even had previously known. But overall, with her in this trailer, what we can tell from what we're seeing here is she is definitely going to be a mix of her KOF 98 and KOF 02 iteration with some of these moves in here, which shouldn't come as any surprise. They've been kind of mixing and matching these skill sets for a lot of these characters. And really with this move here, this is the newest one that I can tell from this trailer. This kind of, I believe it's probably a half circle back kick, but basically she just jumps forward over and behind the opponent and kicks them. I wonder if that's going to be cancelable. The rest of these are going to be pretty much what you have learned to expect from Shermie. Most of her moveset in this trailer, like I said, is going to be kind of a mix of 98 and 02, but basically what we can tell from this is she does her German suplex, her release German suplex, as it were. I believe this is her finisher here. Yeah, this is going to be her finisher, which, you know, as if it wasn't enough to do, I believe it was 3 before. Now it's looking like she's going for 4 or 5 or whatever it is, so pretty interesting. But yeah, overall, this trailer is a very welcome addition for a lot of fans. Shermie has a ton of fans out there. Shout out to my boy Gunny, who is a huge fan of this character, and I believe he mains her, so I bet he's happy. Can't wait to see his reaction to this. But overall, with this trailer, I am very happy with what we're seeing overall. You know, Shermie is a character that we pretty much had assumed would be back, and at this point she can confirm for us that we will probably also be seeing Chris, even though we had pretty much assumed that all of these characters were coming back based on the lore, as I had mentioned from KOF 14, with the whole fight with Verse and the events that took place after that, and from the manga. We had already pretty much known this was going to happen. I do believe that this also now 100% confirms the fact that we will also be seeing Ash in the game again. So for those of you who have not played KOF 14, first of all, shame on you. You should probably go in and play that so you know what's going on in the lore. But if you haven't, you can always read the manga, and that'll pretty much catch you up to speed as well. But Ash should be back as well, so we should be looking forward to both of those characters at some point here soon. But at the end of the day, with Shermie here, everything's looking pretty darn good. It's always fun to watch these in slow motion because you get a really good idea of what kind of detail they went into when making these character animations. And this is a really nice little animation here as she kind of whispers sweet nothings to Shuni before totally just wrecking house, but you'll see that right here. But overall, I love these cinematic animations for these finishers. I'm really hoping that these are actual in-game footage, that they use these every time a finisher connects, because they're pretty fun. But yeah, guys, pretty interesting stuff. I'm excited to see Shermie back in the game, as I'm sure most King of Fighters fans are. Now we just wait for the others to be introduced as well. So that's going to be today's video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Smash that like button and subscribe if you did, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.
Continue.